Today we are going to talk about how to use elaboration in expository writing. So let's talk about what elaboration is, and then I'll show you some examples of elaboration, and then we're going to talk about the strategy for using it. So what is elaboration? Elaboration is basically when you're explaining your details. And you can see I've got these guys down here. It's like they're explaining something to one another. They're explaining the who, the what, the where, the when, the why, or the how. And those are our typical questioning words. So if you get stuck on what elaboration is, sometimes that's how I remember it. It's the who, what, where, when, why, or how. The other thing to keep in mind is that elaboration is when you're explaining your details, like your key details. So thinking back to the planners you built and were drafting from, the key details would be the things that you put in the different text structure organizers, whether you're just using description, order and sequence, problem and solution. The information you put in your planner are your key details. Elaboration is something you're going to add as a writer to explain these key elements. So let's keep going and look at some examples of elaboration. I'm going to start with a paragraph here, and I've used color coding to show the different parts. I'm using green to show the topic sentence, yellow to show the key details, and red to show the elaboration. Now, some of you will notice that that green, yellow, red color coding looks a lot like claim, evidence, and reasoning. And there's a lot of crossover happening there. The topic sentence is like your claim, what's the big idea? The yellow key details is like your evidence. And then reasoning is a lot like your elaboration, where you're explaining more about those details. Let's check out this paragraph and see if we can spot what the author is up to. This says, the biggest threats to butterflies are humans. Some butterflies, like the purple crow, are threatened because their habitats are being destroyed. Others are threatened when people bring in new or invasive species that don't naturally live in an area. This happened to cycad blue butterflies. As caterpillars, they eat plants called Titong cycads. When people started planting other cycad species in gardens, native cycads were crowded out, putting the cycad blue butterflies at risk. So our topic sentence up here is talking about the fact that humans are the biggest threats to butterflies. And then my key details are explaining those threats that humans pose. One of the threats is that people are destroying their habitats. The other threat is the new or invasive species. And then if we look at our elaboration, they're not talking about the humans, they're talking about an example of a new or invasive species. So all of this red stuff down here, all of this elaboration is giving me an example of this invasive species. They're telling us the how and the what of invasive species. They're telling us which invasive species, it's other cycad plants, and they're telling us how it was a problem. Those other cycad plants crowded out the native ones, and then there's nothing for the butterflies to eat. This elaboration helps me better understand the key details. Let's look at another example. Again, this paragraph has been color-coded so that you can see the topic sentence, key details, and elaboration. You might notice just by looking at the color that the elaboration is distributed more evenly throughout the paragraph. Often this author has put some elaboration after each key detail, and that's what we are going to be working towards as authors. Let's check it out and see if we can understand how the elaboration is giving us more information about the key details or explaining the key details. A fossil is a new kind of ancient four-legged whale was recently identified by Egyptian scientists. Scientists first discovered the fossil in 2008 in Egypt's western desert. Millions of years ago, this area was under a deep sea. The western desert is home to hundreds of whale fossils. The fossils show how whales changed over time from land animals to water-based ones. Scientists look for clues about the whale's leg or flipper shape to see if it lived on land or in water. The whale lived about 43 million years ago and is an ancestor of our modern-day whales. Looking back to our topic sentence, I can see that this paragraph is teaching us about the fact that a fossil of a new kind of whale was recently discovered. So our big idea is there's a fossil of a new kind of whale. And then we've got key details to back it up. Our key details tell us that scientists first discovered it in 2008 and where it was discovered. Then I've got a key detail down here that shows what the fossil means. And then down here, another key detail that tells us when that whale would have been alive. But the author did even more than give us those key details. The author went back in and explained those key details because they were pretty scientific. We needed extra information to understand it. That first key detail said, scientists first discovered the fossil in 2008 in Egypt's western desert. And then the author realized we might wonder, why are there whale fossils in the desert? And then they gave us this elaboration. They gave us a why. Millions of years ago, this area was under a deep sea. The western desert is home to hundreds of whale fossils. This all explained why there are whale fossils in a desert, because otherwise we might not know. They're giving us the why. Let's look at what they did with the second piece of elaboration. This key detail says, the fossils show how whales changed over time from land animals to water-based ones. You might, as a reader, wonder, how can fossils show that an animal changed over time from land-based to water-based? So they gave us some how elaboration to help us understand that key detail. This author said, scientists look for clues about the whale's leg or flipper shape to see if it lived on land or in water. So this elaboration here is being used to show the how. How do scientists do this? So they're again explaining how scientists use the fossils to know if the animal was land-based or water-based. This is the big idea about elaboration. Elaboration is when the author gives you more information about the key details that support their topic sentence. It deepens our understanding and helps us access new information. So let's look at a strategy that you can use when you are adding your own elaboration to your writing. So the strategy is the think, write strategy. First, you're going to think, what is the detail you are elaborating about? So you need to think, which key detail do I want to tell more about? Your second think is going to say, what do you need your reader to understand? So first you're thinking, what detail am I talking about? And then you're thinking, what does my reader need to know about that detail to really get it? Then you're going to write. You're going to add a sentence or more. Remember, sentence plus means one or more sentences. You're going to add a sentence or more that tells the who, what, where, when, why, or how that you think your reader needs to know about that key detail. Let's explore what that looks like in action. All right, so let's practice the strategy. I have our think, write strategy over here. I have our questioning words we can use to think about our elaboration sentence here. And then on the right-hand side, I've got a topic sentence for that paragraph, and then I've got a key detail. So our topic sentence says, many snack foods start out as vegetables. So that's what the author's trying to teach. And one key detail they're using is, one example is potato chips. So then as a writer, I've got to think, my reader needs more information. So which detail am I elaborating about? I'm elaborating about this one. One example is potato chips. So I'm trying to give an example of potato chips being a type of vegetable. And then I'm going to think, what do I need my reader to understand about that detail? So I can think who, what, where, when, why, or how. I don't think who applies here because I'm talking about potato chips. What? Ooh, maybe I could explain what potato chips are in case my reader doesn't eat potato chips or they belong to a different culture. I could explain where, maybe where potatoes come from. When, I don't think when applies to this. Why? Why are potato chips an example? Maybe I could explain that. Or how? How do potato chips get made? So let's look at some possible elaboration examples. One example is I could say, potatoes grow underground from the roots of potato plants. That's explain where potatoes come from. That gives more information for my key detail. Another elaboration example could be, to turn them into chips, the potatoes are sliced thin and fried in hot oil. I explained how potato chips are made. In fact, I like both of these. As the author, I might choose to include both of these elaboration sentences in my paragraph before I add my next key detail. So you can see you can add one sentence or you can add more. You decide what your reader needs to know to really understand that key detail. Let's check out another example. All right, again, I have our strategy. Think about the detail, think about what your reader needs to understand, and then write a sentence or more with your question words. And I've got our question words here in the middle to help us. So in this paragraph, they are using the topic sentence, having a pet is one way to reduce stress. And then the key detail is, according to recent surveys, 67% of Americans own a pet. So we're trying to teach about pets reducing stress, and the key detail we're supporting is that 67% of Americans own a pet. So I've got to think who I could tell who Americans are. Maybe people don't know that. I could say what would be a pet. Maybe not everyone knows all the different kinds of pets. Where, I could explain where pets often live. When, I don't really have a when for this one, but if I had more info, maybe I could say when the survey was taken. Why and how. So these are all ways that I could give more information to help my reader best understand. Let's look at some elaboration examples. Ooh, this one is explaining what pets are. Common pets for Americans include dogs, cats, fish, and small reptiles. Common pets might be different in different countries, so the author is explaining what kind of pets are likely to be in America. This one is explaining a how. You can get a pet from an animal shelter or a pet store, maybe kind of a where, how combo. Where you could get a pet or how you could get a pet. And then as the author, you could decide, am I going to just choose one of these, or do I want to include both pieces of elaboration to make my key detail more clear? Here is one final example. This one is a video game example. They're using the strategies. We started with video games are one of the most popular hobbies for kids. And here's an example. One way to play video games is by purchasing a game console. A game console is like a mini computer that you plug into your TV and put game cartridges or chips into. So they've explained what a game console is because people might not know. Let's look at another elaboration example for this one. This one says, you can buy game consoles from stores like Best Buy, Walmart, Target, or Amazon. They explained where these game consoles can be purchased. There were other things they could do to elaborate. Let's check out this one. This one says, game consoles are a great way to play video games because they let you use your TV as a screen and make the gameplay more exciting. So they kind of explained why you would play on a game console. Any of these work. They're using our questioning words to give more information about the key detail that the reader might not already have. All right, so now it's your turn. Let's take a look at what you're going to be working on today. Today for your independent work, you are working on tasks 1 and 2. Use your time wisely to get started today. And then if you need more time, tomorrow you might have some more time to finish up. But use your time wisely and see how far you can get. You'll be doing tasks 1 and 2 on your writing exit ticket, and I'm going to zoom in and explain the details about the directions for each. So for task number 1, the directions say, find the topic sentence, details, and elaboration in this paragraph. Highlight the topic sentence in green, key details in red, and key details in yellow, and elaboration in red. So just like in our example here, where we were highlighting the topic sentence in green, and then finding where's the evidence that connects back to your topic sentence, and then where's your elaboration that gives me more details about those key details. Try it out and see if you can spot what's supporting the topic sentence and what's supporting the key details. That's your first task. And then your second task, task number 2, is going to be to try out adding elaboration. So I've got 3 example key details. Your job is going to be to add elaboration to each detailed sentence. Remember, elaboration tells the reader more information about the who, what, where, when, why, or how of the key detail. So in this first example, the key detail is one type of popular snack food is tortilla chips. So you, as the author, are going to decide, do I want to tell a who elaboration, a what elaboration, or maybe you could describe what tortilla chips are, a where you could get tortilla chips, when do people often eat tortilla chips, why do people like tortilla chips, or how are tortilla chips made. There are lots of options about what you could choose to elaborate on for each of these key details. All right, this was the information to get you started. It is your work time. Work hard and make wise choices.